Deep within the heart of the ancient rainforest, there was a legend. Locals whispered tales of a creature known only as the Mist Serpent, a monstrous snake with the power to summon thick, suffocating mist from its fangs. For centuries it had been a source of fear, but no one alive had seen it, or so they claimed. The older villagers warned outsiders to stay away from the deep jungle where the mist never seemed to clear. They said those who ventured too far would never return, their fate sealed by the serpent's deadly shroud. But Ethan, a young adventurer with a thirst for danger, was drawn to the legend. He had spent years chasing myths and uncovering forgotten places. When he heard the stories of the Mist Serpent, he knew he had to find it. Accompanied by his two friends, Alex and Lila, they ventured deep into the jungle, ignoring the villagers' warnings. The first few days were uneventful. They pushed further into the thick jungle, the trees towering overhead like silent guardians. The air was humid, and the only sounds were the occasional bird calls and the rustling of leaves. But on the third day, the mist began to appear. At first, it was a light fog that clung to the underbrush, nothing unusual for the rainforest. But as they pressed on, the mist grew denser, swirling around their feet and rising higher with each step. It became harder to see, and the air grew cold, unnaturally cold for the sweltering jungle. "We should turn back," Lila said, her voice shaky. She could sense something was wrong, but Ethan was determined. "We're close, I can feel it," he replied, ignoring the growing unease. As the mist thickened, their surroundings seemed to disappear. Trees faded into shadowy outlines, and the ground beneath their feet turned soft, like they were walking on something more than just soil. Suddenly they heard it, a low hiss, almost like the wind, but deeper, more menacing. Alex froze. "Did you hear that?" he whispered, his eyes scanning the dense fog. They all stood still, their breaths shallow, straining to listen. And then they saw it. From the depths of the mist, two glowing yellow eyes appeared, piercing through the fog. The shape of a massive snake's head emerged, its dark scales barely visible against the swirling white mist. It was enormous, easily the size of a large tree, and it moved silently, its body coiling and uncoiling with an eerie grace. The Mist Serpent. With a slow, deliberate movement, the serpent opened its jaws, revealing long, curved fangs. As it hissed, thick mist poured from its mouth, rapidly filling the air around them. The mist was cold and dense, clinging to their skin like icy fingers. Within moments, they could barely see each other. "We need to run," Alex shouted, but it was too late. The mist was disorienting, turning the jungle into a maze of shadows and echoes. They stumbled blindly, their hearts pounding in terror. Lila tripped over something and fell, vanishing into the mist. "Lila!" Ethan screamed, but there was no answer. He and Alex frantically searched, but the fog was so thick it swallowed their voices. The air was growing colder, and the hissing sound was growing louder, closer. Suddenly, Alex let out a strangled cry. Ethan turned, but Alex was gone, leaving only the faintest sound of rustling leaves. Panic surged through Ethan's veins as he realized he was alone. The serpent was hunting them, using the mist to separate and disorient them. Ethan's breath quickened. He'd been chasing myths for so long, but now he was the prey. The hissing grew louder, circling him. The glowing eyes appeared again, closer this time. Ethan backed away, but his foot caught on something and he fell hard onto the wet ground. As he scrambled to his feet, he realized with horror what he had tripped over. It was Lila's body, cold and lifeless, her eyes wide with terror. The serpent's eyes locked onto him, and it slowly coiled around, tightening its circle. Ethan knew there was no escape. The mist was so thick now that it felt like it was choking him, seeping into his lungs with every breath. He could barely move, barely see. The last thing he saw was the serpent's gaping jaws lunging toward him, and then nothing but cold mist. Days later, the villagers found the abandoned camp, but there was no sign of the explorers. Only the strange, lingering mist remained, swirling eerily through the trees. The legend of the Mist Serpent lived on, another story of lost souls swallowed by the fog, never to be seen again.